You have tuned into the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Julio. Hey everybody, this is the BearDown Corner. I'm Sergeant Julio. Let's dive into it, and then we got State of the Division, Part 4 of the 8-part mini-series. All right, we have news and notes. The A.J. Brown trade officially took place after the Myles Garrett trade last week. First and a fifth round pick go back to the Eagles as they trade Brown to the Patriots. Patriots get that number one wide receiver they're looking for. Running back of the Green Bay Packers, Josh Jacobs, is being possibly persecuted for domestic abuse allegations coming against him as the prosecutors figure out if they're going to actually file against Mr. Jacobs. If this happens, that would be bad for the Green Bay Packers, as they have no running back that had more than 200 yards other than Jacobs with his almost 1,000-yard season for a consecutive fourth time. If that happens, look towards maybe James Conner, veteran running back from the Arizona Cardinals, maybe to be on the move, or ex-Saint Alvin Kamara, maybe. But honestly, though, I don't think Kamara will get moved. The Saints have already said that they don't want to move him. Or at least he doesn't want to be moved. He did show up to practice randomly at OTAs, though, the other week at voluntary minicamp. That was nice. He just woke up one day and was like, hey, I think I'm going to go into work. Cool. Then his counterpart against over at the Falcons side of the NFC South, you have Drake London signing an extension for 4 years, $150 million. That puts him among the top 10 in the league of the wide receivers, and as it should be. Very talented. He runs his routes really good. Always in position. Plays through as much adversity as he can. He's been on some really talented Atlanta teams, but they just can't get over that hump. Brandon Ayuk is wanted on an arrest warrant as he is still stemming from that 2023 speeding charge he had at Levi Stadium. Yeah, Brandon Ayuk, he's basically done, gone, washed. They want him in Washington. Who knows? Maybe the 49ers are just going to say, screw you, can just stay on that list and not play this season. Christian Watson has a wide receiver, has signed an extension at 4 years, $110 million. Both Green Bay's wide receivers, Jaden Reed and Christian Watson, are signed for the foreseeable next 3 years plus. Jordan Love has his wide receivers. Go make the magic happen if you're going to ever, because you know what? You had Romeo Doubs and Darius Wicks, and you still couldn't get the job done with 4 capable quality wide receivers. So anyway, that is going to wrap up moving into our state of the division, as we have the Kansas City Chiefs up first in the AFC West. Let's break it down. The Chiefs addressed running back situation this offseason when they signed Kenneth Walker to a 3-year, $43 million contract. The superstar Super Bowl MVP comes over from the Seattle Seahawks and hopes to help revitalize this offense that has been stagnant by the run game the last 3-4 seasons. They bring in Alohi Gilman and L'Jarius Sneed today. The corner, former ex-Titan, comes in on a 1-year, $5 million deal. Mr. Gilman is a former safety that played 5 years plus for the Chargers and 1 year for the Ravens. He comes in on a 3-year, $24 million and a $250 million deal and brings some stability to the safety position. Now, in the response of the departures of Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie this offseason, they obviously brought Sneed back. Kind of a need. They also went up in the draft and got Monzur Delane, the top-rated corner in this year's draft. So basically they had 2 top corners, couldn't afford them, brought in cheaper options. That's what it sums up to. Honestly, not a lot of moves other than drafting for veterans that were leaving and just filling roster spots. When you got Patrick Mahomes, you're not ever out of it. Do I think they're going to be competing for division? More than likely. But I think it's going to be more between them and the LA Chargers battling for number 2. And let me explain why. The Chargers have a good chunk of their roster from last year. Brandon David Njoku to upgrade the tight end position. They sign a lineman and Tyler Badazzi. Denzel Perryman and Khalil Mack are coming back. You know, they got some interior and defensive side on their interior for O linemen and D linemen in the draft. As long as Omarion Hampton can step into the role of the running back position and solidify a run game for this team, and their offensive line stays healthy, the Chargers can still be a force. There is a team who I believe they're my runaway. I don't have anyone competing otherwise. I think the Denver Broncos are going to take this division, but I think the Chargers and the Chiefs have just as good a chance as anyone at making a run at those wild cards and possibly sending 3 teams from that division to the playoffs. Let's talk about the Raiders. Have they done enough to compete within this division? I don't think so, but they're on the right path. They did a lot of good moves this offseason. You go out and you get... How the hell do you even pronounce that? I wrote this thing so quick. It's like Coyote Payne is how I would pronounce it. He is a former edge rusher of the Indianapolis Colts. Has 30-plus sacks in the last 4 years. The edge rusher comes in on a 3-year, $48 million deal to help put a little extra with Max Crosby on the opposite side. They reinforced the line with 2 solid signings. One in Tyler Lindenbaum, who should never have been let go from the Ravens, but he signs over in Las Vegas. They signed Spencer Burnford on a nice little cheap 1 year, $3.25 million. He comes as a former 4th-round pick from the San Francisco 49ers. He helps solidify a bit of a nice line. Nice few years starter there. They traded for Kirk Cousins to help mentor number 1 overall pick Fernando Mendoza. Really nice. They have a couple more picks after that where they picked up a few wide receivers, a bunch of linemen throughout the draft. They really hit on a lot of picks, I think. Even on 3rd-round pick, Kayshawn Crawford. He could be a good rotational, maybe even starting, depending if there's injuries or not, on the defensive line this season. So Raiders will probably be bottom again, only because you're literally rebuilding. As much as I like Kubiak for that young up-and-coming team, you got to give it a little time, at least till year 2, I think. You'll see some improvement there. But let's go to who I believe is going to be the AFC West champions, and that is the Denver Broncos. Roster continuity. I say that because they traded their 1st-round pick and a few other late-round picks for Jalen Waddle to have a true 1-in-1 with Cortland Sutton for Bo Nix. They're going all in this year. Is the best way I describe it. You brought back pretty much majority of everyone from last year. You cut who you thought you had to get rid of in the offseason to trim just not performing players, right? But you bring back J.K. Dobbins on a 2-year deal. You got Alex Trotman developing and becoming better in tight end behind your other player, former Jacksonville Jaguars tight end Evan Ingram. You also have Alex Singleton coming back on a 2-year deal. Jaquan McMillan on his 2-year or his 2nd-round tender. They still have cap space that if they wanted to, they could theoretically sign both Graham Glasgow and Cam Jordan, who wouldn't want a shot at a Super Bowl? I think this is one of the top 3 choices to represent the AFC in this year's Super Bowl. Unless injuries take this team for a toll, they had one of the top defenses. They had close to one of the top offenses. There's no reason the Denver Broncos can't repeat and be as dominant as they were last season. Because honestly, I just see them keep getting better and better and better. And Bo Nix is not getting any shittier as a quarterback. To me, he's already proved he's better than CJ Stroud and a bunch of these young bucks. Like Trevor Lawrence, he's a talent, but Bo Nix is just something else. I love watching this kid. There's just something about his demeanor. He holds himself so accountable, everyone else is accountable. And as that leader, he should take the Broncos to the Super Bowl next year. And that's going to do it for us here at the BearDown Corner. That's all the time we got for today. I am Sergeant Julio. You can catch us live every Tuesday morning, 6 o'clock Eastern, or General Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern, here on Spotify and anywhere else you can get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube. Be safe, take care. We'll catch you here next week on the BearDown Corner.